Guys, attendance enabled. Okay. Let me just start. So today this is a live lecture, and okay, think I have some questions. Yeah, so structures. Basically, now we have covered the whole of programming, guys. So let me just reply back to Aniket. I just replied back to a query about what will be the syllabus of the lab. So basically, it won't have structure-related concepts, but everything else, because we have basically covered the programming part as such. Right now, we have, as I said, right, we are done with the syllabus. So out of that, the only thing that is not going to be there are basically structure-related queries. But other than that, you are supposed to know everything else. Just for this particular lab, the one that will be on most probably on this Thursday in the same slot. In the same fashion, it's just that this time we will have it on Hacker Earth. So this is about um, the syllabus for labs. Uh, any question? Okay. So this is about lab. Let me also reply this back to the batch. Mm, other than structures, everything else is. So yeah, so be prepared and please create your accounts on Hacker Earth, and it's uh, and create it using your institute email. That is something that you have to do. Okay. So this is from. There is a suggestion also about conducting labs on Tuesdays. Um, See, the problem is I don't know what time you guys are both free. I know that at least uh file handling. Yeah, okay. I'll please like tell everyone. Okay, there won't be any file handling related questions. Um, Sorry, I should have also said, file handling. No, not file handling, but earlier Tuesday lab. I mean, that is the issue, right? I mean, the problem is I if we are having it online like this without any demo, then we can have it together, right? I mean, why should we have it differently? The only reason to have it differently is because the TAs had to take a demo. Now that we don't have demos, it's fine, right? I mean, you guys can figure out a common slot and we'll have it there. Um, so that is the idea, right? I mean, why not have? I'm open to having any other slot as well, right? I realize that 4:15 to 6:15 is a free slot for both batches. That is why we had it in that slot. If you guys can come up with any slot where you guys have it could be in the night also. I don't have a problem. I don't have to ask TAs to invigilate, right? So it's just that I'll put up the question and you have to reply. You have to put the answers. So find out anytime. It's up to you guys. Okay. I thought Thursday because this is how we did it last week. But if you guys feel that there is another slot within the week where both the sections would like to have it, we'll just have like one more lab like this. Okay, so that now to to have that n-3 formula, I will have at least 4 lab marks. Um, okay, yeah, we have a lot of polls all the time. So what was the result of the poll? So that is what that Thursday seemed to be a place where there was a slot where both the sections were free. So just 2 hours of that time, um, and this time it will be on Hacker Earth. So I think if I schedule it like this, that it will end on 6:15, then it ends on 6:15. You will not be able to submit the code after 6:15 like you did this time around, right? So please be very careful. No, 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 not the so the data structures part is not even really I can ask conceptual questions about data structures in the yeah, single question, Sahil. I will ask conceptual questions about data structures in your end semester exam, but not about code. Okay, I mean conceptual questions as in what is the use of stack. Um, you know, uh, if this is a particular scenario, how would you use stack for it? How would you use the queue for it? But no, not about code. Okay, it's not. I'm not going to cover that because that is a part of your data structures syllabus. Um, See, it's like this. What Moss will do is, I sent you guys an example, right? So what Moss does, it doesn't actually tell me that this person copied from this person. Moss produces a report, okay, and it will start from that. Like basically, some people, if you have let us say 100% match, then there is highly likely that you guys copied, and then the only thing is that Moss anyhow does not care about your variable names. Okay, so IJK is not an issue. You can use IJK. Everyone can use IJK. That doesn't matter. So there is something known as a parse tree of a program. So basically, Moss works at the parse tree level. Okay, so it sees if how much two parse trees are different from each other. And by the way, this brings me to another question. Don't worry, you guys don't have a quiz today. I could see that. There are 86 people in the class today, so you guys don't have a quiz today. It is different for different batches. Okay, you will have it. That is why it is a surprise quiz. It will be different for different batches. So if you guys want to leave, you can leave. You won't have a surprise quiz so that is guaranteed that you are not going to have at least today. It could be on any other day, but not today. So yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so this was another thing that I would like to ask you guys. A friend of mine who works in the field of compilers. He I was planning to call him up for the last lecture of this particular uh, course, right? But then I realized that it's because it's an invited lecture and it is not something that is a part of your syllabus. I'll have it mostly on a Sunday. Okay, someday when it's just like a normal lecture, there is no attendance for it. You can attend it if you wish to, and in that lecture he will talk about parse trees and and how a particular program gets compiled, and you know, whatever happens in the background with the compiler related stuff. So that my friend will come, and he will talk to you. So it would be like a 1 hour lecture. So you can, you know, you can either attend it or not. It's completely fine. He's a senior researcher at Qualcomm. Qualcomm is a company that makes these chipsets. Okay, you may or may not have heard about Qualcomm, but it's a very prestigious company, and they work with mostly at the hardware level. So he's a senior researcher uh, with Qualcomm. So he would give you guys a lecture, and that will be like kind of end of, you know, that will be the climax of this course, where you know, we'll leave the things at that level where you understand whatever you did in this whole 1 semester, how does it get interpreted by the machine. That is the idea. So mostly I would like to keep it on a Sunday. um, so I'm not sure what is, he's free on Saturdays and Sundays. He's a working professional, so I would keep it on a Saturday or a Sunday. So please tell me when, you know, again, it's not necessary to attend that lecture. So please don't be pressurized. It is not going to be a part of your exam. It is not going to be a part of your lab or theory syllabus. This is, you know, he's just coming to give you a lecture on yeah, I mean, okay, so he's just giving this lecture because I asked him to. You know, he's not even being paid by the institute. He's just coming to give you guys a lecture on my request. So whenever you guys would like, on Saturdays, on Sundays, I will have a lecture by him, and that will be towards the end, right? So we can either have it on this Sunday, I guess, or on the next Sunday. Whatever is fine with you guys. Okay, so today's lecture is about debugging. Okay, we have been using this term called debugging for a long term. It's just that we have never really talked about what exactly is debugging or what exactly is GDB. So let's, you know, start this week, this lecture with that. Where is my presentation? So there is a very short presentation. It's like a 2 slides presentation, and we'll then move straight to the demo part. And while I'm showing this to you, I will not be able to see the chats. So if you have a question, then please, you know, unmute and ask. So let's start, guys. So the term you have already heard about is GDB. So this is debugging with GDB. So first, what exactly is the whole concept of debugging? The You know, whenever you write code, you would have already seen this many a times, that um, sometimes your code doesn't really behave the way you expect it to, right? I mean, there is a problem in your code, and the terminology that we use in the field of software engineering is that the program or the software bug in it, bug bug, right? Let me just add the laser pointer. So this is the terminology bug. Okay, so basically, whenever a particular program or software has some problems in it, we call that this software has bugs. And the process of finding them out and weeding them out, removing them, is known as debugging. That is the idea. Now, we perform debugging usually for two types of use cases. Let us say you wrote a particular program. It is not, it is not doing segmentation fault. It is not exiting abnormally, but the output it is producing, the result it is producing, that is not really what you expect it to. Okay, so somewhere in your program there is a kind of a logical error, as in you feel that this code should do something, but it is doing something else. So that is one type of a code, one type of a scenario where we use debugging. The other type is where, let us say, you run into some kind of a runtime error. So you saw that segmentation falter program that I showed you, where I was trying to access an invalid memory location. That is an example of of a runtime error where something is happening at the runtime, which you want to figure out what exactly happened. Now, the most commonly used debugger, by the way, there are multiple debuggers, and almost all the languages will have a debugger. The most common debugger used with C and C++. So this is for both, by the way, C as well as C++. So whatever you will see today, it's exactly the same for C++. So if you are a C++ programmer, this lecture is for you as well. So GDB, we use GDB to debug these C and C++ programs. The issue is every program is not debuggable by default. Okay, why? Because essentially what you pass to GDB, GDB consumes executable. It doesn't actually consume a .c or a .c++ file, a CPP file, right? So basically you debug an executable. Okay, and that executable is created usually by running the gcc command. So when you actually compile and link programs together and produce an executable, if you want this particular executable to be debuggable, right, where you can use it with gdb, then some additional information has to be included at the time of compilation and linking itself. To do that with gcc or g++, this is the switch minus g. Okay, you have to include the minus g switch in your compilation command, and then whatever executable gets produced, so in this case the name of the executable is executable. So whatever executable gets produced, this can then be used with gdb. So this is the this is the overview of the process. Don't worry if you don't understand it. We'll check a live demonstration of this. But this is mostly for the revision purpose. That when you're revising, you can have a look at these two slides to just recap everything that we are going to do in this lecture. So this is how you do it. You create an executable and then you run gdb space the name of the executable. Then the next step is to actually set things known as breakpoints. Now, what exactly is a breakpoint? Let us say I have a particular program and I want to do some debugging, right? So first of all, when I am doing debugging, it means that I know that this program is not behaving as expected. So there is some place within this program where I would like to check its behavior. Okay, so I would like to see what this part of my program is actually doing at the runtime. So breakpoints are a way to actually tell GDB that whenever you reach this part of my code, please stop. Stop as in you are executing my code. So GDB also executes your code similar to how you do dot/executable. But the options that you get now is you can actually ask GDB to stop or halt the execution in between the whole program. So let us say your program is a 50-line program. You can say stop the execution when the control is at line number 20. Okay, so the first 19 lines have been executed and you are now stopped at line number 20, and then you can check up certain things. We'll see what do we usually do, but the idea is at this point of time you can inspect certain things, usually the values of different variables, and then try to see whether the program is actually achieving what it is supposed to do. There is another thing called watch points. I personally don't use watch points. I have never really uh, I don't. I mean, maybe there are certain programmers who use watch points. I usually just work with breakpoints, but there is a concept of a watch. So essentially, what are watch points? You can say that there is a particular variable or even an expression, and you want to be notified every time the value of this variable or this expression gets changed. Okay, so let us say in the simplest case you put a watch point on a variable. So you say I have a variable called I. Whenever my program is executing and the value of I changes, I want to see what statement, where exactly in the program did it actually get changed. So this is where people use watch points. Now I as I said, I personally do not use watch points. I've never really thought that it is required. I think most of the things can be done using breakpoints, but there might be a case to use watch points. So but we are not going to have a look at it. You can actually try it out. There are so many features of GDB. I'm only going to show you all the basics. Okay, I'm not going to show you all the features, just the basics. So then so what we do is we basically say that, these are certain points in my program where I would like to inspect the code before it is executed. So you use a breakpoint to do that. Then I run the executable in GDB. When the program is executing, what I can do is, as soon as uh, GDB reaches a particular breakpoint, it stops executing. It halts the execution and then expects me to give it commands. Okay, what commands can I do? Commands can I give? So n means execute the next line. This means that okay, whichever line you are currently on, just execute it and move to the next statement in the program. If the current line where my program was executing, which was supposed to be executed next, it was actually a function call. If you do an n, it will actually execute the whole function and then return back. If you instead want to go inside the function and see each statement of the function getting executed one by one, you can use the term S stands for step into the function. And let us say you hit the breakpoint, you have checked all the variable values, and you say, okay, now just continue execution until another breakpoint is hit. You use the word C stands for continue. Don't worry if you don't understand these things right now. This is mostly for a revision, but just to give you an overall debugging process overview, I'm just going through these slides. And then the most important command in GDB is the P command, or the print command. It actually prints the values of variables and expressions at any point of time in your code. So just this is for your revision only. We will uh, now go through some actual code. Can you guys see my VM right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me start with this. So I created this program ad hoc for the previous batch. So let us start from this program itself. Or actually I should come back to it. Let us go back to, sorry. Mm, see examples. I think it was 6, I guess. Mm, let me start with week 5. What should we have here? Let's start with basic array operations or something like that. So the idea to do it is something like this, that I should use one where functions are there. So which one would have functions? We studied function in week 8, I guess. Imperfect swap. Let us do this. In fact, this is what I had planned to do. So this is how we start. We do GCC minus G. So this is a new switch. This is something that we have not yet used. So GCC minus G, then the name of the program that you are going to use. Let us say imperfect swap.c. Okay, so this is done. Now this a dot out, I can either execute it like this, right? What happens? I simply see the result, the output of my program. Sorry, just a minute. Mm, mm. So I can see the output of my program like this. Now, if I want to run it in the debugging mode, the idea is doing something like this. Okay, so you can see that I'm passing the name of the executable, not the program. Okay, and this is something that you have to understand. When you use GDB, you provide the name of the executable, not the program. So this is what GDB looks like. Okay, you have loaded the program. Nothing really has happened as of now, just the executable has been loaded. So as I said, now there are certain commands. Okay, let us say let us say you want to check out the code which has been loaded. So the command for it is list. Okay, so list basically shows you the code that this particular program has. Okay, so starting from, let us say this is line number 5 of my program, um, and my main is at line number 17. It starts at line number 17 here. You guys can see my cursor, right? My mouse pointer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, so this is where this is how my code looks like. This is the code that I am going to debug right now. So the first step towards debugging is finding out a place where I would like to halt. Okay, so in this case, let us say I want to figure out what is exactly happening in the function called imperfect swap. So let us just stop maybe a couple of statements before that. Okay, so let's just say I would like my program to halt at line 3. Okay, right before the imperfect swap. So this is the way break stands for breakpoint, or break at that particular location, and then I say 23. So this, what will happen is when my code start executing, right before executing line number 23, the execution will halt. So as of now I say break 23. It says breakpoint at line number 23, something like this. So this is an address. You don't need to worry about it. Now the idea is to actually set up one or more breakpoints in the code wherever I would like like to inspect my program's state. In between, I just use the breakpoint. Then I do a run as in now execute my program. So what has happened? Basically, it says that breakpoint 1 main imperfect swap dot c colon 23. This means that the control is currently at line number 23 of my program imperfect swap dot c, and everything before line number 23 has been executed. I mean, of course, everything as in the main starts from line 19. So it has executed from here up to here. So this part of my code has been executed already, and you can check it as well. This is where you statement. So this part has been executed. This part has been executed. Sorry. Okay, so this part has been executed as well. So this is the problem with using a VM. Mm, huh. So this statement and this is has been executed. This statement has also been executed. You can see the output here, right? But this has not yet been executed. The line number 23, and this is where my program has halted. So at this point of time, what I can do is I can use the print command, or the full command is print. The shortcut for it is simply P. Okay, and I can, let me just use print once. Print, and I say A. It tells me that the value of A is 5 currently. Okay. Similarly, I say print B. It says the value of B is 50. Okay. Now, at this point of time, I say let me execute the imperfect swap function. Let me just use the command N. N stands for next. Execute whichever line you are right now. This is what N will do. So this line will now be executed. I executed the line, and this is the output calling the function to swap values. And now my control is at line number 24. Okay. Now, if at this point of time I do another N, this whole function call will be executed, and I will go to the next line. What is the next line? Line number 25. This. But I'm not going to do that. Because I also want to see what happens when the control goes inside the imperfect swap function. So for that, I will use the S command, or step into command. So when I do S, now see where the control has gone. The control has gone to line number 6. What is line number 6? This is line number 6. okay, inside my imperfect swap function. And by the way, this is just a declaration of a variable, definition of a variable actually, but it is not changing any states. So that is why my debugger never stops here. The debugger only stops at a probable instruction where the state of the variables, the state of the program could be changed. Okay, so this is why these kind of statements, int x int y kind of statements, the debugger doesn't stop there. Okay, it basically moves ahead. So that is why I'm currently at line number 6. This is the idea. Okay, so now let us execute these lines one by
Sir,
one. Go ahead.
you said that it stopped at line number 6 because of like there can be some change.
Yeah.
But sir, in line number 6 or 7, it is just printing some strings.
Yes, yes, yes. But the idea is yeah, the idea is it could have changed. Okay, so I could write something like printf, and let us say I could write I plus plus here, right? Printf percent d. See, the debugger doesn't actually know what function it is. It's just like um, anything that can potentially change. Okay, this can never potentially change the state of my program when it is 100% sure. Okay, anything that may or may not change your state, that is where the debugger will stop, right? You understand that there is a potential to change the state. It may not be changing the state.
So like in line number 8, so when we
Hmm.
see that there is percent %d,
Hmm.
so sir the debugger can be sure that something may change. So but
uh,
in line number 6 or 7, it's just printing strings like the uh,
mhm. No, no,
uh,
but the debugger doesn't actually look at your format specifiers. It is not that deep level. You understand? So basically, whatever you do in printf, the debugger doesn't care about it. Okay, the way you use printf, the debugger doesn't care about it. It simply has to decide whether printf has the potential to change the state or not. You understand? That
yes sir.
exactly how you use it, it doesn't care. What are the parameters, it doesn't care. It doesn't actually verify your parameters and then decide whether it can change the state or not. So this basically, your state will not be changed here. That is the idea. But here it could be. In fact, um, we'll revisit this. So basically, if I go to this line, for example, in main, if we had started the debugging from the first line of main, the debugger would have stopped here, even though it is similar to this line, int temp and int a equal to 5, b equal to 15. But here there is an assignment as well. You understand? There is an assignment operator being seen here. So this is why the debugger will stop here. Here there is no computation as such. So the probably I'm not using the proper term. It is not really the change of state. It is about computation. There is no computation involved here. That is why the debugger is not stopping. I'm probably using the wrong term. You know, I thought, okay, let me just read then. Basically, this is not really a computation thing. This is more about allocating certain memory location where some values will be stored. These statements are about computation. Again, you might say printf is not computation, but yeah, there is some code that has to be executed in order to, the printf executed. So easiest way to understand this is like this. If you are defining variables but you are not assigning them any initial values, then gdb will not stop there. It will simply go through, okay, and then it will stop at the first location where it finds a non definition statement. Okay.
Okay sir.
So okay, we are currently at this line number 6. That is what I said. So now I do another n. N stands for execute this line and go ahead. So this line gets executed in function imperfect swap. Another n. So by the way, we all know that there is something known as garbage values, right? This is the time to check. Let us check the value of temp. This is what p stands for print, and I give it the name of a variable. Okay, so p temp means print the current value of temp. Now let us execute some more statements. Temp equal to a. Okay, right before this statement gets executed, the value of temp is 21845. It is a garbage value. After executing this statement, I again check the value of temp. Now temp has become 5. So you understand how we actually use these print statements. So basically, um, there is really um, there's no profile or no well-defined way of debugging. You only get a handful of tools with GDB, and then it's on your own convenience. You have to use it the way you want. So the only convenience that GDB is giving you is that it is allowing you to execute your program instruction by instruction, and at any point of time, you can actually check out the variable values of different variables. That's the basic crux of debugging, that execute the statement line by line and check what affects these computational statements have on your variables or the state of the program. Now it's up to you. It's completely up to you how you use it for your own. So you have to use your own brain to figure out how it can be useful to you. But these are the services that GDB provides you. So let's just like complete the execution. At one point of time, the this yeah. So this means that now we have reached the end of this particular function, and another n will take you back to the calling function, which was main. So we did a step into on line number 24. So that step into has now returned. So now we are currently at line number 25. You can also check L again. You can use L to figure out where you are currently in the code. So it says that you are at line number 25, and line number 24 was just executed. And then if you simply say, okay, I have now checked up whatever I wanted to do, and let us just continue execution till another break point is hit. So then you do continue, or simply C. So now my program ends because there was just one breakpoint. If I had multiple breakpoints in my code, doing C would have then taken my code to the next breakpoint whenever it is getting executed. But right now my code has completed. It says this particular program exited normally because there is a return 0 here. If it was returned something else other than 0, it would have said exited with code, whatever code you returned. So this is the overall idea of debugging. There are some basic commands that you need to know about. Things like how to list the code, how to put breakpoints. There is another way to put breakpoints that I can show you. So let us say you want to put a breakpoint function by function. Okay, you want to say whenever this function is being executed, just stop there itself. So in the previous case, by the way, if I do D stands for delete all the current breakpoints. And now I'm adding a new breakpoint directly at the function itself. Imperfect swap. Okay, so there are two ways to set breakpoints. You can either set it on a particular line number, or you can set it on a particular function. So this one is basically setting it on the imperfect swap function. And again, I have to do run or R. Function runs. Now the program runs. All these statements have been executed. Okay, now this is where the breakpoint is. It is on line number 6, the same place, right? But this time it has directly reached here instead of first stopping here. Here. Okay, so now it has stopped directly in the imperfect swap function. If I do a C, continue from here, the program exits normally. Any questions about the overall idea of debugging? Okay, so the idea is this: you load a program in GDB, you set certain breakpoints. The breakpoints are of your choice. You figure out at what point in your program would you like to see that what is going on, right? So the debugger just provides you this facility that you can actually stop the execution of a program midway, check out certain things, what are the what is the state of different variables, and then from there onwards you can either execute one statement at a time, or you can simply continue until the next breakpoint is hit. Okay, so this is the overall concept of debugging. Now you if you understand this, everything else are just commands. You have to and there is a help here. Let us say you want to check out how to put breakpoints, you do help um, breakpoints. So these are all the command names. There are so many commands, by the way. We just use the break command. Okay, there are so many else that are there. So just check it out, or you can always use internet to figure out these commands. So there are so many commands in GDB. We have not really seen all of them. We have just seen the very basic commands with GDP, and it's basically based on what kind of problem do you have. Okay, you use GDB based on that, and there are also other GUI based tools. I'm not sure whether which VS Code has that or not, but there are IDEs which can allow you to do the same thing.
Sir,
So
VS Code has a debug console.
okay, so then you understand, right? So any queries on this? So you guys understand the overall what can I say, the overall process of debugging. There is really, as I said, right, it I mean there is no real uh, there's no real learning here. The only thing that you need to learn is a paradigm, how to debug programs, right? um, then everything is dependent on case to case, right? So what exactly would you like to check? There was one more thing that I could not talk about with the previous batch, but I think I can talk with you. This is about loading. It is exactly the same as we were checking out, but where is that program where we had a segmentation fault? Actually wanted to show you guys how a segmentation fault can be managed. Is this the one? Uh, Segmentation falter, where was it? 6, I guess. That one is the, and this is basically a faulty program that, so that is gcc minus g segmentation falter 2.c. Okay, I should have said like this, minus faulty program. So we do something like this. And yeah, by the way, if you just press enter like this, the previous command that you gave, that is repeated. So essentially what happened, I just typed L and I pressed enter, and then I pressed enter again. So GDB considered it is L. L is the next is the command again. Okay, so just pressing enter means uh, the previous command, that is the idea. Okay, so this is a program that we are trying to debug. Let us break it at main. So break main means that just stop as soon as you enter main, and then I do run. Okay, let's keep on doing something. PTR equal to dummy. Yeah, let us check the address of PTR. So this is where PTR is pointing to in the memory. Okay, I think this one is where we actually try to write using a loop, right? This is what we were doing. So then in the first iteration of this loop, what we are trying to do is we are going to write some value at the location that is pointed to by PTR. PTR is pointing to dummy right now, right? So what is the value of dummy? Is something like this. Let me try if this works. It works. So basically the address of dummy is this, and this is what PTR is pointing to. And currently it has some garbage value 21845. Now, where? Sorry, dummy is allocated address at it now. Okay. And PTR is allocated at this. I'm going to show you how segmentation fault occurs. I'll do it by accessing a memory location that I'm not allowed to. I'm starting with an int asterisk variable. Okay, so these are some printf statements. Okay, so at this point of time, I'm going to use PTR to assign a value to dummy. It is successful. You can check it. Dummy has now become 5. And PTR, where exactly is it pointing to right now? Where was it pointing to before? Yeah, so PTR is currently pointing to the same location. Now I do an N, scanf %C, PTR plus plus. So now what happens? Now PTR has actually gone ahead from here to here. Okay, and this is basically if you add, if this is a hexadecimal representation, but essentially I have added whatever number of bytes. So it is PTR is an integer pointer, right? So it has moved ahead by 4 address points. That is the idea. I try to assign another value, and that is, and this is where I think it becomes interesting. The current value of PTR is this 050 something like that, but if I do this, that is also the same. Okay, so essentially what is happening here is something like this. My program only has 2 variables. Okay, so I don't have anything more than this. um, I got a segmentation fault. So this, I only have 2 variables. Where can I show you the code? So basically at the beginning of my space, wherever the variables are being assigned, dummy gets assigned 4 bytes, and in most cases, right after dummy will PTR be assigned the space, right? And this is the problem. If I added 1 to the address of PTR, it actually started pointing to the same location where it has been residing. And so this particular case, when I did asterisk PTR plus plus, it has now started pointing to itself. And when I make a change like this, asterisk PTR equal to 5, basically PTR is going to overwrite itself. Something like this. If you check what is PTR now, this address is completely different. It is basically address 5 in the memory. Okay. Instead of this, this is address 5 in the memory. And this is what is happening. What is going to happen in the next iteration. This one will actually do a segmentation fault. So these are some of the things that you can do with GTP. You can see that at what particular location within the program did the segmentation fault occur, and then you can see, okay, what exactly was I doing at that point of time in the program. There's another way to use GTP, by the way. If you already have a core dump, so let's say, but for that I think you'll have to use. Okay, so let me show you one more thing. I don't think I did not talk about it with the previous batch, but let me show it to you. HRC or profile. So this is basically a command that you will have to add in your profiles. Um, U limit minus C unlimited. If you do that, should I again? I'm not sure whether I should tell so those many things to you, but let me. We have time, so I have added that command. So now what I do is, if I do this faulty program, at some point of time it says core dumped, right? So what exactly is that core? It is something like this. A file gets created, okay, which has all the information that is required in order to debug the state of your program, what exactly happened at that program. So you can actually use an already dumped core file in GDB like this, faulty program, and then you provide the core file. So it basically says this is the issue. The core dump happened at line number 19 in your program. This is what it basically says. The core was generated by this program. The program terminated at this particular line number. So this is, this is usually helpful when you are creating huge applications in C or C++, and then uh, it has ended, it has crashed. So this is more of, GDB can be used to figure out where exactly in your code did the crash occur, so you can actually check it later as well. This is the idea, but for that you will have to enable certain settings so that this dump gets created, and that setting is there in your, you should add it in your bash rc or profile file, just this uh, bash rc. Again, don't worry about it if you don't understand this. This is just because I had time, I just decided to show you. This is the command that you'll have to add. If you don't have this command there, then those core files are not created. Okay, sorry. Now you guys have, if you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, there is a question in the chat. So does this yes command? Yes, I think if you do it on any other statement, it will behave like n, if I'm not wrong. But if it is on a function call, it will go inside the function. I've not checked it out. It is usually the same. So basically, the idea is either step into or step ahead. Um, so step into only makes sense when it is a function call. Okay, any questions?
Sir,
Hmm, yeah.
sir, if you want to fix the bug, we can do it inside GDB only, or we have to go to .c file again.
No. GDB you can't fix anything. I mean, GDB is just about inspecting the code. You'll have to go back and change your C code and then recompile it.
Okay, sir.
So this is more for inspection. You inspect what is wrong with your code.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, the break statement breaks the programs according to us when we define the break line,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
computation that you talked about. When there is some computation, then it breaks. So can you
So
explain the
basically,
difference?
whatever line number you say, the next statement, which is a computation statement, that is where your program will halt. So let us say you can also give breakpoint at a line number that is blank, right? So when you create the C file, there are certain blank lines as well. So what will happen if you set a breakpoint at a blank line? It will basically stop at the next location where there is some computation statement.
So, sir, it will not stop at int x like that.
Yeah. If it is just int x, it will not stop. If it is int x equal to 5, then it will stop there.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Core is basically a representation. Yeah, it is like a lower level error log, lower level where there is a dump of your memory state at that point of time. What, how exactly did the stack frames look like when the program exited? So it's basically a kind of memory map at the time when your when your program ended.
So can you explain this code thing again?
Yeah. So this is what happens, right? When I ran this particular code, something happened, right? I mean, at one point of time it said segmentation fault. This is where it is. Here. Sorry. This is the point where it said segmentation fault. And I have already talked to you guys about segmentation fault. What is segmentation fault? Basically, some kind of illegal memory access, okay, will give you a segmentation fault. So core is a kind of a snapshot of your program right before this memory fault occurred. Okay, so if you actually try to if you try to open this in a GDB setting, there are so many things that GDB can do. I mean, I have never really tried all those commands, but one thing that it can tell you for sure is that whatever happened with your program, why exactly did it core dump, you can at least know the particular instruction, the line number which produced the segmentation fault. So in this case, it says that this segmentation fault was produced at line number 19. There are other information as well in this core file that you can use, but usually, for basic debugging, the only thing that we look at is the line number. There are other information. You can see how big a file it is actually. This is how big a file it is, right? It is bigger than the program itself, because it is just giving you the state of the memory at that point of time. Um, but the idea of a core file is that usually when we build large applications, we enable that ulimit setting, and if a program crashes, a core file is created. Okay, and that core file can be used by us later to figure out exactly what went wrong, at what point in my program did the segmentation fault occur. So this is what these core files are. They are, as Nehal just said, they are kind of an error log, but at a very low level. They are kind of a low level dump of whatever happened in your program. Any other queries? So this is a very basic introduction to a very basic introduction. Error log. So basically, when you write programs, there is some information that you write at different locations. Okay, usually it is a file. That logging means I am constantly putting out some information that is relevant for my program or my software, which can be used later in order to debug the program if there is a problem. Okay, so this is known as log, and error logs are basically logs where I find reasons for a particular error. Okay, why exactly something went wrong. So that is known as an error log, and in that error log, I just have to all I have to do is go and check using GDB where exactly is that particular problem, the statement at which the error happened. Any other queries? So this is, as I said, I mean, this is not really a part of your curriculum. I'm not going to ask any questions related to GDB, and I can already see that the attendance after I told you guys that there is no quiz has dropped down to 61 from 86 or something like that. And this was one of the reasons that I actually uh, took a quiz, because that is, I mean, I can't scold you guys, so the only way I can make you study is by surprising you. So that is the only reason I took a surprise quiz. And there will be a surprise quiz anytime for you guys as well. Not today, because today you basically were prepared. I'll do it when you guys are not prepared. Not prepared as in the quiz itself was not too hard, by the way. Most of the class has done very well. The idea was, there were 101 or 102 people uh, who have put their attendance, and only 80 people have given the quiz. So you can understand, right, that I realize that a lot of people do not attend class lectures, and that is fine. I mean, that is not an issue with me. I've said this before, but because we have decided that there will be certain marks for class engagement, right? um, yeah, it is still open, Uttran. but because we decided that there is certain marks for class participation, right? At the end of the day, I'll need some marks, right? I mean, how will I decide, what marks to give to whom? If everyone, I'm allowing you guys to put attendance anyhow, even if you send me an email saying that I forgot to put the attendance, I put the attendance, right? So I need some way to decide the class participation marks, right? So I thought, okay, we'll have a quiz. Okay, only those people who are there in the class, actually in the class, only they'll be able to take the quiz. Okay, those who have either dozed off, or those who have switched off their speakers and maybe not their mics. We are talking about the Shwetas, but those people can actually be, they can actually uh, be reminded that we are in a lecture. So uh, so so basically that is the idea, that I wanted to actually make you guys study. That is the idea for taking a quiz. So you guys too will have a quiz someday. Because the quiz for the previous batch, I just woke up in the morning and I decided to put 5 questions in a form and ask them. So someday in the morning, if I decide to put up 5 questions for you as well, um, let's see when that day comes up. Okay, so guys, this is the overall idea of debugging, and please tell me, when would you like to have that lecture? Again, that lecture from my friend Avnish. His name is Avnish Pandey, Dr. Avnish Pandey. He works with Qualcomm, and so can tell me, when can we have Avnish's lecture? I would like it to be on Sunday or Saturday, because that is when he is free. But he's a great friend, so even if I ask him to give the lecture in the middle of the week, he'll be ready, I know. So, but I don't want to push him, right? He's a working professional, and he's doing it voluntarily without uh, anything. So the institute has nothing to do with it. I'm just arranging it for you guys, so that you get some knowledge about how compilers work. So would you guys be fine with this Sunday, or maybe next Sunday? Just talk among yourselves. I don't want Shreya to create another um, another Shreya or Tia to create another poll for it. We already have too many polls going around. And this, because this will be a voluntary kind of thing. It's not a part of your syllabus. I'm just arranging it for your knowledge. So do tell me, guys, if you have an issue. Otherwise, we'll have it mostly on this Sunday, or maybe next Sunday. I'll talk to Avnish. Okay. Okay. Any more queries, or shall we just break?
So are we still going to follow that n-3 thing?
Yeah, that is exactly why I am having this lab, right? So after this lab, we will have four labs, right? I mean, the marks for 4 labs. So in the worst case scenario, at least I will have one lab for each of you, right? I mean, at least there will be one lab to grade each of you. So that is why I have that n-3, and no, we will try to have one more, uh, Sahil. That will be that kind of lab, right? Friday night, 3 hour lab, with the TAs taking demo. Um, but acha, it is there. I have never used. See, I don't use WebEx anything beyond I'm absolutely required to. Uh, so how do I do that? WebEx. I don't see any option to. There is a there is a raise hand thing here, and yeah, Rama, just tell me if you know. Otherwise, eh, health
So
checker
there's a
dark.
polling option.
Is it? Just a minute. What I'll do is this.
So in the, I guess, 3 dot, there's a polling thing.
So see, this is the 3 dots. Can you see my tab?
So the I guess the last right one 3 dot. Right,
Right.
right.
Oh, sure, this one. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, there is a polling. Switch to the desktop app. Come on. I am not going to use that app. That is junk. See, that is the problem
So if someone is using desktop app, you can transfer host to them.
please tell
I think
me if
Nehal
someone is
uses
tell
desktop
me if
app.
someone is using the desktop app.
Sir, I am.
Okay, just a minute, Nehal. I'll just make you the just a minute. And we'll actually have to talk to the other batch as well. Just uh, how do I search someone's name? Nehal. Yeah. Make co-host. So you are a co-host, Nehal.
Sir, I'm not getting those three dots beside chat. I don't know why.
See, that is why, right? I don't rely too much on Uttaran. Shall I try to make you the host as well? Let me see. Just a minute. Let me make you another co-host. Co-host. Okay. So Uttaran, you are also co-host. Check if you can create the poll. In fact, this also makes sense because if there are only 60 people who are interested out of 120, why should we burden the other 60 with a poll? They'll just they'll just check out some random option.
No, sir, I can't find any option.
Yeah. uh, Let me make you host then. I know if it is possible, just check. Make host. Okay. But I'm not sure whether if making host will stop the recording or not. I'm not sure. But I'll let yeah, we are done with the lecture. Let us try it. So Nehal, I'm making you the host. Now you can check.
So nothing has changed.
Okay, so Uttaran, I can give you another try as well. Oh, I can't make you the host now. Nehal can.
Yeah, sir, I made him the host.
Okay, Uttaran, you can try. Does it work, Uttaran?
No, sir, still can't find any.
Yeah, okay, so that is the issue, right? Let's forget WebEx. Just like I mean, don't have to create a formal poll for it.
So
Just
you
talk.
can rejoin, I guess. So
Uh,
someone will get the, I
acha.
guess,
Sir,
the.
if you go to file options and go to save, there are options for poll questions and poll results, but I still can't find where can I start the poll.
It's okay, guys. See. Have it on your WhatsApp groups, okay? Uttaran, case just make me the host again because that recording thing might be a problem. So, uh, so just make me the host again, and yeah, decide among yourselves, guys. I'll talk to Avnish so that. And as I said, right, if the total number of people are less than 100, I'll just we'll just have it on Google Meet. Um, Yeah, they weren't. There is a lab on Thursday only, the same time that we had. Unless you guys can figure out some common slot with the other batch, okay, where you both are free and more people are. See, I don't care. I mean, this week also no demos, right? So the only thing I would say is just have it together, and that Thursday slot is a good one to have it together. We will try to have one more lab where the TAs actually take your demo. So that will be the last lab if it happens. But even if we have this lab, we'll have at least four marks, so that I can apply the n-3 formula. I'll have at least one lab for you guys to be judged on. So please figure out but as of now we are ending it at the point that Thursday 4:15 to 6:15 is the lab, unless you guys can come up with a better slot which is agreed upon by both batches. Okay, otherwise it is Thursday 4:15 to 6:15. Okay guys, and please Nehal and Nehal, you and Nehal and Uttaran, you two are now responsible for figuring out and talking with the batches. Pranav also, you also suggested, right? Who suggested me for the poll? Manish, na? Manish, you are also there. So 4 people. Just figure out when should we have Avnish's lecture, and tell me. I will talk to Avnish so that he can talk to us. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you, sir.